Welcome back to Savanna Techie. I'm your host, Rafael Ndwiga. If you're new to the channel or haven't yet subscribed, kindly give me your support by hitting the subscribe button, liking our videos, and sharing them with your peers. In today's video, we'll be looking at how to install Git and clone repositories on Windows. Now, what is Git? So you may confuse GitHub and Git, but they are two different things. So GitHub runs on top of Git, and Git happens to be an open source software tracking tool, and it's used in DevOps for source code management. It's used for tracking changes made across different tool teams and revision levels. Um, So in short, it enables multiple developers across various operating systems or across geographical regions to be able to work together in a linear development. Git itself was created by Linus Torvald back in 2005, and he created it as a tool to track the development of the Linux kernel. So Linus Torvald is the man or the guy behind Linux kernel. Now, to the prerequisite for being able to install Git on your on your Windows machine, okay, the prerequisite for that one is one, having administrator privileges. By administrator privileges, I mean being able to being having permissions to install software on your machine. In case you're using a company machine, you may or may not have the permission to install, and you may have to request the company device administrator to do the installation for you. Now, to get started, we will need to get the Git installer. So you can do a quick search on Git installer Windows. Okay, and this is the one that we're looking for. So open it on a new tab, and what we're interested in is the 64-bit. So here, on which version on which version to be able to select, you can be able to tell so by going to your PC. In my case, I'm using Windows 10, so I can click here on my computer and then select System Properties. And here I can see my system type is a 64-bit operating system. So that means now I can be able to select a 64-bit Git for Windows setup. So you can either select 64-bit or the 2-bit. If you're running a 64-bit operating system, this will still work for you. But if you're running this or this, both of them will do work for you. But if you're running at a 2-bit operating system that you can be able to tell from here, then the 2-bit is what will work for you. This won't work for you. So in my case, I'll just select this, the 64-bit, and then I want it to be downloaded there on that folder. Yes, I'll give it a few to complete. Um, Depending on internet connection, this may take some time, and this may take some time, or it already have completed the download process. All right, so the download is complete. I'll click on it to run it. So I can be able to come here to downloads and double click it from here to run it. Okay, so it's asked for permission, so I'll say yes. Now I'll begin the installation process. Click next. I'll accept the default, and then I'll say add an icon to my desktop, then yes, and accept those ones. And then it asks me about choosing the default text editor to be used by Git. So on the drop down, you have a number that you can use. So by default is Vim. So I'll just leave it as is, but you can be able to select either Notepad, Visual Code, or whatnot, based on what has been given on the drop down. Or you can also select a different um, text editor for Git that has not been listed here at the drop down. So I'll just retain Vim, and then I'll say next, and then I will let uh, I will let Git decide. Okay, but you can be able in the tutorial in the tutorial that we did about on creating a GitHub account, we saw that the main default branch is main. Okay, so I can click here and select that whenever I'm creating a new repository, that the default branch is main. So I can retain it as it because here you can see the currently default for this software, the current default branch is master. But I want to retain that harmony. So just click on override and select main. Then I'll go next. And then here I'll retain the default, whereby so I'll just I'll retain the default here. Then I'll go next. Then I want you to use the OpenSearch library. Okay, so go next. Next, I'll retain everything the way it is. And then here, I don't want to use the credential manager. Okay, so I'll click here, do not use a credential manager. Now, if you want to know more about the credential manager, remember to click on this link. And it will ask me to select the browser where to open with. So open with Firefox. And here you can see it gives you information about the credential manager. Okay, so you can read and know more about it. So I'll select none in my case, and then click next, and then I'll enable file system caching, and just leave these ones the way they are, and click install. So it will begin the installation process. So I'll pause and continue once it's done. So Git has finished installing on my machine. So I can launch the Git bash. So I will uncheck this and then click that to launch the Git bash. Okay. And then the next thing I will do is I'll configure Git credentials, and to do that, use the command git config username and then the name. So I'll copy this. So that's the command that I will use. The first one to set the my git name. So I'll copy that, and then let me save this. Then I'll replace this with my name. I'll have it in braces. I'll replace this Techie. I also come and copy this, and replace email address with my email address. Okay, so once I've done that, I'll copy this, the first one, then I'll paste it. So if you want to paste inside the terminal that has been launched by Git, then you can just right click inside and then select paste. I'll hit enter. Then I'll repeat the same process. So this is a setup for if you're having Git the first time on your machine. Then also paste and hit enter. Okay, so that one has been updated. Now the next thing I will look at is how to clone a Git repository. So I'll head back to my GitHub account. Currently there are no repositories. So I'll select create a repository. So I may select create a repository from here. But if you have other repositories, then you can do the same thing for creating repository by going on top right corner near your avatar and clicking new repository. Yeah, and I can say uh, Savanna first repository. Okay, then I'll give it a description. This is the first repo. Okay, so basically the description tells someone or whoever is viewing your repository on what the repository is all about. So you can do it here, or you can add it on. You can add that information as part of the README. Then the next you have option of selecting whether it's public or private. So public means anyone on internet can be able to see the repository. If I don't want anyone to see the repository, then for that to select private. Okay, so just leave it at default, select public so that anyone can be able to see this repository. And then the next setting is on initializing the repositories. So you can initialize the repository. Uh, that is, by initializing mean that when the repository is created, I want to have a README file included. So I can check that if I want it to be included. Okay, or or I can add it manually later. And then the next thing is adding git ignore. Git ignore, this is a file that tells Git that when I'm adding and I'm making comments on my repository, kindly do not track certain files. So there are a couple of files that you can go to add from GitHub. So you can say ignore things with TypeScript, with Android. So there's some items, there's some things that you really do not want to push to your repo. For example, a file that contains password to database, API keys, and whatnot. So just leave it at default the way it is, and then you can also be able to select a license. So a license mean that what kind of permissions do people who have access to a repository that they can be able to do with the code given there. So there's none, then there's Apache, there's MIT. There's a bunch of lessons that you can be able to include. So I'll just leave it as is with none. Okay. And if you want somebody to be able to use your code for commerce, change it, and not even give you a shout out, then the best permission to use is MIT license. So I'll just leave it there, and then I'll click create repositories. So the repository has been created. Now here, um, here there are two ways. There are multiple ways that you can be able to do. You can be able to use these new repositories. One of the way is to create a repository and then add the README. Okay, and then they've shown you how to go about that. That you can go to add a README and then do a git init, So basically, when you issue this command, what will happen is that this line, this string that is starting from the hash and then the repository name will be added. This content will be added to this file, and if this file does not exist, this file will be created. Now you may be asking, what does these two greater than sign mean? So these two mean that if this file exists, okay, append or add this content at the end. But if it was only one of it, it means that if this file already exists and had content, the content will be overwritten. So that's about it, and then this is how you go about the process of adding the repositories. Okay, so now we have our repo. The next thing that we will do is to clone this repository to our machine and begin working from there. To do that, I will copy this. I'll copy this link, okay, and then have it on Notepad there. And since we are cloning, we want to clone also using our personal access token. So I'll copy this link for cloning. So I will have this resource on as a link on the description. So I'll copy that one there. And what I will do, I'll get the username here, Savanna Techie. I'll copy it and then replace everything within the braces, these braces there, the username, and then I'll also replace the repository name slug, the name of the repository. So I'll copy everything from there minus the .git and then replace everything there that way. Okay. And the next thing is to get the personal access token. So for this project, I will come back to my Git account. Go back here at click on top right at the avatar and then select settings. So I'll open a new tab, and when I do that, I'll scroll down to the bottom under developer settings, and then personal access token, generate a new one. I say this is tutorial key. I want it to expire after you can select the number of days you want it to expire. So I'll just say 90 days. Then I'll just select the first one for the repository. So I want to be able to push content. So these are, yeah, so to be able to push content there. Then I'll scroll to the bottom, click generate token, and then I'll click now. I'll copy this token and come back to my link that was constructing and replace it with the token there. So I have the link for cloning the repository that we've created. Okay, this is the link. So I'll copy it, have it in mind. Then I'll go back to my working directory. I will create a directory that I'll be using for Git. So I'll create a new repo, a new folder, call it Git repos. Okay, navigate in, and then I'll right click to get the context menu and select Git bash. This I want to do everything from the command line. So what Git bash will do when you do that, Git bash will launch with the current working directory set as the Git repo. Okay. Then I'll right click inside the terminal and paste. Okay. So then I'll hit enter. You can see that the repository has been created. So since it has been created, now on my terminal, I can type ls, and you can see the repository there. I can do cd Savanna repository. Then I'm inside that particular repository. Okay, and here it indicates to me that the default branch is main. So you can be able to see how or where this where you can be able to define the main branch, the default branch on a previous video. Then I'll go back to my to the repository created. Then I will copy this since I want to create that readme file. Then just paste it there. Okay. And then to check the status of where this file has been created, I can do ls. You can see the file has been added there. And then to check whether the file has been staged to be committed on Git, I can do git status. They issue the command git status. You can see that the file is not being tracked yet. So have it being tracked by Git, I can add the command, can issue the command git add, then the file name. Okay, and then now to commit it, I'll issue the command git commit, say first commit. Okay, so if I do git status again, you can see that it tells me any commit, but yeah, so we already added there. Now to push it to the to push it upstream, then what I will do is I will copy this command git branch main and paste it. Okay, if I do git status again, you see the same thing. And then now I can issue the command git, the last command here, because this link already exists. This git remote link already exists. To see that, we can say git remote, sorry, git remote. Okay, a moment. Yeah, so to see that remote URL, so you'll issue the command git remote get URL origin. So I'll issue the command git remote get URL origin. Okay, and you can see that link there. So you can see this is where the commit will be done. So now to push the changes, I'll copy that or type it. So say git push u origin main. So what this command means is that you're telling Git to push, okay, basically to upload, and it's uploading that the original original branch, and setting the original branch where to push it will be the main branch. So that's what we're doing. If I told it was master, and then that will be origin master. So that one is there. So you can see that it has successfully pushed, and it has not asked for username or password. Since that one is already taken care of, the password already been taken care of by the PAT personal access token. So if I go back to my repository that we created and did a refresh, I expect to see the README file with the content. Okay, and you can see that the commit was done 5 minutes ago, and a single commit. So now you can now be able to continue working from this particular juncture. You can add new files, do commits, create branches, and whatnot. That's all for now. If you have not yet subscribe to the channel. Can you give me support by subscribing and hitting the notification button? Till next time, have a good one.